should be streaming.
So this is not a time to burst into Tourette's, right?
Oh, I don't know. You can burst into Tourette's yet, I would think. Not sure if everyone's here yet. And
The Cybermen might not approve of that.
depends upon the audience. Although I am also posting a link to Neil himself on Twitter, so I'm not sure he would care for it if he happened to pop in.
It's always tempting when you've got that go live.
Oh, which reminds me, before we start streaming, I should make sure that what I'm about to say is accurate before I make an ass of myself.
Oh, if you do, I will correct you.
I figured that. I just want to make sure that my statement... Okay. My statement was correct. I was going to say that Gaiman did for Cybermen what Shearman did for Daleks.
Oh gosh. I can't find it now. I know it's here.
Well, while I'm looking at Twitter, anybody else ever get the urge to follow CNN just for the sake of James Earl Jones?
No. I get the urge to follow CNN just so, Actually, no, never mind. I don't do following.
Do you even have a Twitter?
No, I do not. I
Okay.
have stayed away from that portion of social media. Although I discovered Neil Gaiman's Twitter address today, and I've been tempted to get one just to follow him.
Yeah, I follow Neil Gaiman. As a matter of fact, the night that Nightmare in Silver came out, him and Warwick Davis were all over the place. I'm just like, they're like, oh, what did they think? Oh, have you heard any reactions yet? I'm so nervous. Only the most hyped episode this season. No, no problem, guys. I've heard some news back. They love us. They love us.
I don't know about most hyped, but I imagine that more people were looking forward to this episode than are actually looking forward to tomorrow night's episode.
Oh, probably.
Anyway, are we ready to go here? Because we're starting to get into stuff that we should be talking on the actual...
We're getting toward that edge anyway.
Yep. I'm bringing up Who Mix now so I can play the video, the song.
Alright. Hello everyone. I know we've been streaming for a little bit, but if you're trickling in or not exactly sure if our live audience count these days, but welcome to an Unearthly podcast, and we're here to talk about Neil Gaiman's second episode and the penultimate episode of Series 7, which is Nightmare in Silver, The Return of the Cybermen. We have myself, the Man in Black, we've got Ron-san, and of course Mad Matt.
Hello.
And you can take it away with the theme song if you got it.
Alrighty. Just a second, gotta get back to the right tab. This one right here. I knew it was King. I could not find the video for the life of me.
And this is the person that just said that he had the theme ready to go.
Are you kidding me? Did they change the website or something? The links are different now.
They decorated this place. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it at all.
Sorry,
No.
sorry,
You've redecorated again, haven't you? I don't like it.
I had to go for the extremely obvious joke, but...
It works because I don't like this either. Why did you mess with this? You shouldn't have messed with this. Oh,
So
there's a YouTube link. Maybe that'll work.
This won't do at all.
No, 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 no!
Looks like it's really has to me.
What? That's not not it at all. What the Yeah. Got 30 seconds here, people. God.
That wasn't it. Why would you link that? Why? That wasn't even the right link at all. Now you made me mad. Not to mention now we're looking silly on public. As a matter of fact, how many people are watching right now? 2. Hi, 2 people. Hi.
One of them is me.
Okay, I think we should probably go titleless at this point, as Matt's having technical difficulties.
4,
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
What's the countdown for? Oh.
You might just want to, rip that to your hard drive, Matt.
I did, but I can't find it now.
Okay, that's enough.
There you go.
Again, I don't know why I can't find it. I know it's there.
So now that our opening theme went about as well as the average doctor's plan,
Bonk.
and Matt, want to tell us what happened this week?
So, yes, it's going to me this week as our round robin of explaining goes about. This week, I believe we started this episode off with the doctor taking the entire group, including the 2 kids that are usually looked after and left at home, along with, because they found out, well, look, she goes time traveling. At the end of last episode. I'm trying to remember what last episode was. That Journey? I don't think that was Journey, no.
No, it was Crimson Horror.
Crimson Horror, that's it. So we start off with them at the theme park already, and they're like, well, we're on the moon. To which we all go, well, that's supposed to be a vacuum, though. Then again, I believe they've actually stepped outside and not gotten instantly killed before, so maybe there's a little bit of a force field around that keeps the air.
Matt, summary, concise.
Yeah, I'm getting there. As I was about to say,
He's about to get concise.
as they're standing there, a strange man comes out and starts talking to them, but upon hearing, I believe it was marching footsteps, he quickly hides, and a platoon kind of pops out of nowhere. The blonde leader, I want to say she looks very familiar, but I can't place her.
It's not important. Her credits didn't even have her name other than Captain.
Yeah, so just the captain of the platoon kind of comes up to them asking them what they're doing here, so on and so forth, because they're trying to keep tabs on what's going on in the area. The doctor pulls out the psychic paper, which I have to say I haven't seen in a while, and gives them
You did miss something first.
Oh?
Yes. Because, yes, the doctor first pulls out the fact that he has a golden ticket.
Oh yeah, he constantly refers to the golden ticket, and it will be used again later.
I'm sorry. Willy Wonka reference had to be done.
I had a golden ticket! But, yeah, he gives them the psychic paper treatment, and they're like, oh, okay. You're even higher up on the pecking orders. Gotcha. Moving on. We'll leave you to your business. To which the strange man comes back out and is like, they're gone, right? I hate people in uniforms. To which they find out that, yeah, the music park actually has been shut down for quite a while, but the guy keeps his own small museum in the area. to which they go through and watch some odds and ends, and just before the opening credits, they see a Cyberman sitting at a chess table. They revealed it by removing a cloth. To which the Doctor gets everyone down, but when we come back from opening credits, it's just moving a chess piece. Apparently there's no brain or anything left inside the Cyberman, and it's one of the older models that we...
It shall from hereforth be known as the Cyber Turk.
Cyber Turk?
Yeah, the Turk was a chess-playing machine
Oh,
from the
okay,
18th century.
You say Turk, and I think of a black bald surgeon.
No, the Turk was a
Okay.
chess-playing device that was supposed to be... It was heralded as the first automaton until it was discovered it was basically a gigantic hoax, much like this was.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
As we were about to get to, they do play a little bit of chess, to which one of the children, I believe the little girl, loses.
No, it was the boy.
Oh, it was the boy? I thought it was the girl at the table.
No.
No, that's right. The stranger pulls a coin or something out of his ear, out of the boy's ear, or pretends to slide a hand.
No, he does it out of the girl's ear because she points at, she correctly deduces how the illusion is done.
But they do a little bit of chess, but then they reveal that the Cyberman is in fact not even just a robot. It is literally controlled by wires, an illusion, controlled by a small man hidden in a compartment underneath the table, which happens to be
Warwick Davis, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you for stepping on my lines.
Sorry.
Which happens to be Warwick Davis. Warwick Davis kind of just like, hi, and comes back out. Just a little bit of a spine pop as he stands upright. Oh, that feels nice to get out, sort of deal. And he starts talking with the Doctor and the other companions. They kind of go off and do their own thing, while the first guy, I guess you call him the ringleader or something, the curator of the museum, if you will.
That's giving him too much credit, really.
He just puts hodgepodge stuff together that's around, but still, he pretty much stays by himself throughout the rest of this, and we do see one scene later with him, with the sandwich that the boy gave him for something, and eating that down before he's attacked by...
The sandwich was what he wagered in the chess game.
Mm-hmm. But he was then attacked by small robotic bugs, which we have been seeing periodically by this point. Hint, 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 hint. Again, trying to move this along as quickly as possible. The Doctor is onto the robotic bugs as well by this point, and is trying to figure out what's really going on around here, as they apparently aren't a part of any of the attractions. The kids are left behind, and then soon separate, only for one after the other being picked off by unseen things. I believe, however, we might have seen a Cyberman with the boy.
With the girl, actually.
Oh, with the girl.
Because she's the one that wandered off to the barracks, and the Cybermen came in and physically abducted her.
Oh yeah, the one...
How they were alerted that the Cybermen were there. And that was also one of the new models that looks vaguely like... apparently, Tony Stark called them and wanted his arc reactor back.
Yes, big glowy chess piece of doom. Why not? It shows that they're putting more budget into it. But yes, the children get abducted. The ringleader of the museum gets taken over by the Cybermen as well. And they come to find out that apparently there's been, I guess you'd call it a reboot, technically, of what's been going on with the Cybermen. Because Cybermen seem to come and go in waves, and this seems to be them trying to come back again. And the only way that they've securely figured out to get rid of Cybermen is to literally, as they call it, implode a planet, although it looks much more like an explosion.
People, I'll explain later.
Did they actually show it happening?
Yes. They showed the explosion.
I must have missed that.
Towards
For
the end,
what?
when they blew up the planet.
Okay, are we at the end of the summary now?
Not quite, but...
Oh, you're saying they showed... Okay.
Yeah, you've gotten yourself...
I thought you were talking about the nebula or whatever it was. Okay.
But as we were, they do have explosives there, and they are trying to keep that as a last resort if possible. Meanwhile, the doctor has gone off to try and find the cyberbugs, finds the kids with earpieces on, and the one ringleader seems to be halfway converted to Cyberman already. And while he's talking to them, he finds out that the Cybermen have definitely done some major advancements in themselves, including the fact that they no longer need just normal humans anymore to become Cybermen. They can take on anything. In which case, they throw a handful of cyberbugs at the Doctor, and they latch onto his face and try to become one with the Doctor and try and take over his mind, because, hey, big, giant, powerful mind, let's take it over. And then we actually get to see some really decent acting from Matt Smith, I have to say, but not going to linger too much on that. There's a Matt Smith that's the Doctor, and then there's the Cyberman, the Cyberman in his head
The
trying
Cyber
to...
Planner.
Cyber Planner. Thank you. Cyber Planner that's trying to take over and use the Doctor
It
as their
basically
new...
involves Matt Smith having a massive, multi-minute Gollum time.
Mm-hmm. Well, he
Smeagol
gets to have it against himself, though, which is nice.
which is what happened with Smeagol Gollum
Well,
in the Lord of the Rings. Think about it, Matt. When
Well,
he
he
talks to
doesn't-
himself,
He doesn't really get to look at himself, though, either, is what I'm getting at. They're both on the screen at the same time as different personalities.
only in his head.
Yes, which is still more than what Lord of the Rings gave us. But continuing on.
I wouldn't want to be inside Gollum's head.
As the Doctor continues to struggle with the Cyberman in his head, the other companions that are, other companions, not other companions. What's her name again? I always keep forgetting her name. She's been around all season.
Clara?
Clara. Clara is getting the military unit, what's left of it, actually up and running, because as they bicker over not using the explosives, the captain gets shot, and her attempts to try and set up the bomb to blow up the planet go AWOL and stop right there. Also, I might add that Warwick Davis has also been wandering around and pops in and out periodically throughout.
Well, he has been on the planet for 6 months.
At least, yes. They continue to try and set up defenses, and they figure out to take over a castle inside of the amusement park to best defend themselves, because why not a castle?
A comic castle.
Yes. A sillily named comic castle, yes, but still, nonetheless, a castle with a drawbridge and everything.
But comic.
And they also put the one of the power sources into the moat to try and hopefully electrocute Cybermen if they try coming across. The Doctor then shows up with the two kids and a golden ticket stuck to his face. He's using the golden ticket to try and keep the Cybermen at bay while he temporarily moved places to somewhere a little more safe.
I'll talk about this later.
Mm-hmm. He finally gets himself tied down into a new, safer place, and he proceeds to try and save the children, while also battling with this cyber controller in his head. And I believe the idea that they finally settled upon was to have a duel minds via chess, as to who will continue to remain in control of the Doctor's mind. Not like the cyber controller was going to let go anyways. At least not willingly. They continue to have this duel while outside dawn breaks, and they continue to actually have the start up of the actual fight with the Cybermen as they close in on the castle. The first of which steps into the moat, gets electrocuted, but then stands upright again, saying that they were upgraded and now can proceed across without danger. They continue to use some of the weaponry, although I believe the weaponry either A, needed more charging, or B, also became something that they upgraded against.
The latter.
Well, both, I believe. It took a really long time for it to charge back up again, then they were suddenly immune to it. And as they were about ready to start grabbing both the military unit as well as Clara, they finally come to a standstill as the Cyberman inside of the Cyber Controller suddenly needs all the runtime from the other Cybermen to do something. I forget exactly what it was.
To beat the Doctor at chess.
Oh yeah, he was trying. Oh yeah, that's right. Because the Doctor had a crafty little trick up his sleeve. He told his Cyber Controller that he could defeat him in 3 turns. In 3 moves.
3 moves.
To which the Cyber Controller was taking all the runtime from the other Cybermen going, what? How? That's impossible. There's no way you can do this. There's absolutely no way you can do this. To which the Doctor, I forget what all he does, but he does get the Cyber Controller out of his mind and pacifies it, and then goes about trying to, he tries to get everyone into the center room where they're going to be safe while the Cybermen start up again and start to close in on the castle.
Like, I'm trying to think, it was like, pick up the EMP,
It was
turn it on.
step 1, turn on sonic screwdriver. Step 2, boost the power of the EMP glove. Step 3, apply to face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Step 4, profit.
Merchandising. He gets everyone back inside the main part of the castle, but they're still being swarmed at by Cybermen outside. So the question is, what do? They gotta get out of there, but they can't leave the Cybermen because, well, once this planet is already taken over, as soon as these people are gone, they're just gonna spread from there like a plague.
Which is what Cybermen do.
Yep. So it turns out that Warwick Davis's character is actually Emperor.
Who had been listed as missing earlier.
To which he has the backup voice control for the bomb, sets it off, to which they are also contacted by the Emperor's mothership and beamed aboard, matted aboard actually, just before the explosion.
Yes.
Yes, because they use transmats, which is a throwback to the good old days again. And they are brought back aboard, as well as the Doctor's ship, before the explosion happens. And they eliminate all the Cybermen that were in the area, including apparently the hidden tombs, because they did mention that.
We saw briefly.
The Emperor does try to ask engagement with Clara, to which Clara is like, thanks, but no thanks. And Clara, the 2 kids, and the Doctor go back into the TARDIS and head off, while the Emperor heads back home. Somewhat against his will, I believe. But then again, he's the Emperor. He has to.
Not really so much against his will. He's just reluctant to be Emperor.
He's kind of bored of the job, it would seem.
Not really bored. It's more of the fact that he has to do a lot of stuff he really doesn't want to do. Like blow up planets.
Yeah. So that was the plot in a nutshell.
So I'd say first things first. Does anybody, or what do you guys think of the claim that was floating around the internet that this was the scariest Cyberman episode since Tomb?
I wouldn't exactly call it the scariest thing out there, but it was definitely a better episode.
I would say since Tomb. Since the invasion, maybe. Because anybody who says since Tomb is forgetting about the invasion.
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen the invasion myself, so I couldn't judge on that.
I can dub that in, and I'll say yes, that was the best.
Scene, that's the classic scene of all those Cybermen coming up out of the sewers in London, was just terror-inspiring.
Oh yeah, that is an epic scene, especially when you realize also, for all Americans and non-British, that is a real place, and they had some actual real-life locations they were filming that, and it was epic. I don't think they really had done anything quite like that up to that point.
The thing is, after the invasion, the Cybermen did become a bit of a joke. I mean, they show up. The Third Doctor didn't fight the Cybermen at all.
I know.
One Cybermen episode during Pertwee's reign.
Yeah, there was none during Pertwee. There was one during Tom Baker's run, and it was really kind of weak.
And I know around the Earthshock area, they were pretty much just generic robot killers.
Well, I was actually going to get to that, Bill.
Oh.
Yeah, at Tom Baker's time, first of all, they reused the invasion props, but didn't have any of the modified voices or anything. And Tom Baker is almost derisive of them of being a bunch of tin soldiers mucking about in an ancient spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't see the Cybermen again for about 7 years. Until Earthshock, which that's the beginning of JNT's era. Well, not the beginning, but that's the first one they do in there. They redesigned the Cybermen for the 80s with the new mouthpieces and everything. And they basically, like most of the JNT era, added a little bit of camp to the Cybermen.
That was the 80s.
David Banks became the cyber leader, and they tried to coin the catchphrase, "Excellent,"
Excellent.
as the cyber catchphrase of the day. And they kind of lost their way. I will actually discuss this a little bit more in a bit because,
I will say
actually,
that
no, I'll go into it now.
the...
One of the problems I had with the episode is the way that gold was used as the cyber band.
I was actually going to ask you about that because I got the impression it was mainly gold dust clogging up their systems that was effective.
This is why I'm bringing this into it now, because it's
Okay.
the same episodes.
Okay.
This first actually established in Revenge of the Cybermen, the Tom Baker episode. Before that, Cybermen had various weaknesses, radiation. Do you remember, you've seen the invasion, Matt. Do you remember them getting knocked down with cleaning fluid in that?
Cleaning fluid, I don't recall that. They
Then it must have been-
did have to set up some extra weapons, though, for fighting them. I don't think cleaning fluid was part of it.
Okay, that must have been in like one of the earlier Second Doctor versus the Cybermen, one of the Lost episodes.
Quite possibly the first Doctor, maybe.
No, it was not the first Doctor. The first appearance of the Cybermen was the very last episode of the first Doctor.
Yeah. And they didn't really have
overcame
any weak...
with radiation in that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, the only reason that the Cybermen lost was because Mondas blew up before they won.
And he was able to take out the cyber incursion force on the planet, which he did using radiation because he discovered the Cybermen there at the time.
That was that one specific force at the South Pole, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Not all the ones that were taking over Geneva and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was the original Cybermen Achilles heel. Apparently cleaning fluid wasn't one of them. And I'm not sure what actually they used to defeat them in the invasion. I don't remember. But they established in Revenge of the Cybermen, which was the Tom Baker episode, that the cyber war was won and the Cybermen were defeated when they discovered the fact that the Cybermen were weak against gold. And specifically gold dust.
Mm-hmm.
Gold dust being non-corrosive, it would get into their respirator and clog the breathing tubes, basically what they used to cool off the circuitry. So the Cybermen would basically have a gigantic overheat and collapse. They developed a weapon called the glitter gun, specifically to throw gold dust at Cybermen. Which is very 70s when you think about it.
Very 70s, yes.
And if I recall, the last use of it as such was as an Easter egg in the TV movie.
What?
If I recall,
No.
he had a bag of gold dust on it.
Yes,
Which
it was
basically
mentioned,
just an
but
Easter egg.
you're once again way jumping ahead here.
Right.
We then, of course, have the big 7-year pause where we don't see Cybermen, and then they come back in their new 80s JNT forms, but again, gold is used to stop them, at least one of them. Specifically, it's Adric's badge of mathematical excellence, which the Doctor takes it and grates it like cheese against the grill of the Cyberman's respirator.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of loosely done, but I kind of let that one slide.
Yeah, it's still getting the same basic idea across.
Yep, the 6th Doctor episode, Attack of the Cybermen, didn't have gold. they wound up using the Cybermen's own weapons against them.
Which was also
I
shown
think-
to be effective on Earthshock as well.
Oh yeah, also the 5 Doctors. They used it in the 5 Doctors too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he also killed one with a thermal lance. I'll allow that.
Yeah.
But then we get up to Silver Nemesis. And we wind up with Ace, what was it, using a slingshot and gold coins, I think? And just plunking them into the Cybermen's chest like they're throwing stars.
I forgot about that.
That doesn't work.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
writer
at
kind
least
of botched.
there's at least that means that we've had in the past it being used for something other than clogging respirators.
Yes, but mind you, that's also panned as the worst Cybermen episode ever. And a lot of the,
I'd agree
part of
based on what I've seen.
and part of the bitch about that is the fact that gold wasn't used properly.
Right.
Gold dust was then again, once again brought up in the TV movie, but it was really it wasn't really mentioned in relation to Cybermen. It was mostly a continuity nod in a movie full of continuity nods, many
Yep.
of which didn't make sense. Gold has not been used as a cyber weakness at all since their return in 2006.
Not that I am aware of.
Yeah, so this was definitely the first time.
Yes. So then we get to this one, and he slaps a ticket on a piece of cyber circuitry and causes it to fail.
For a few moments, but they also start to overpower it a little bit too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it was
Why would that
basically
work?
kryptonite.
yeah, that's like, what the hell were you thinking, Neil?
Can't
also-
always blame
it also-
Neil either.
It also kind of felt like a logic gap, where the point where all of the Cybermen that are new models are basically like, we're upgrading to everything within seconds. And they're basically like, oh, because the Cyber Planner is still downloading, he has weaknesses that the Cybermen haven't had in generations, but he's still downloading the patch. Does that sound like, I'm like, if you were building someone specifically programmed to be your leader, would you have that be the last patch that was downloaded?
Actually, I think that was something that they were working on because of the Doctor slapping the gold patch on, is what it sounded like.
No,
to me.
No,
because
but
I'm pretty
he
sure.
mentions that they're still running these old versions of the software. That also bugged me a little, is the fact that they refer to everything as software patches.
That's not exactly
Although
how it works,
they've-
guys.
They've mentioned, unless it was somebody here, I've heard it mentioned before that, I'm trying to remember if it was actually the Doctor, if it was somebody here or somewhere else, that that gold hasn't actually been a weakness of theirs in a long time. I think the Doctor might have said it, but I also might have just heard, of a podcaster or a fan saying it and misremembered.
Might have been me.
Might have been.
Yeah, could have easily been Randy.
And,
There are rants.
The thing is, we have two different leagues of Cybermen now. We have the Mondas, or the Cybermen Classic, if you will, and we have the Cybusmen.
Now,
Now,
the guy we saw at the beginning of the episode was
the
definitely
Cyber Turk was a Cybusman. So, whether we're dealing with the evolution of the Cybusmen, or if we're dealing with the Mondasian Cybermen, we don't really effing know anymore.
Well, like it is from Cybus, there's really no reason for them to have ever had
Any gold weakness, because that was never ever mentioned, ever.
Yeah, and also the fact that there's mention of
I guess-
having wars with these Cybermen kind of lends it to be Mondasians again.
Well, this is also decades and thousands of years in the future.
Now,
But
also of
Just-
interest is the fact that the Cyber Planner and everybody refers to the Cyber Collective here. Notice I'm using the term collective. I will get to that in a moment. As the Cyberiad. This is a new term. We have never heard this before.
Yeah, that's right.
When the Cybermen have referred to themselves as, a whole,
It was the cyber race
as
previously.
the cyber race.
Right?
Yes.
I feel like they even once said like Siberia, as though they were like I'm trying to remember exactly how how it was used, but it felt weird in context, almost like they were referring to a homeworld that doesn't exist.
But
Maybe
I don't
like
know.
all
now,
of
now they
Siberia.
refer to this as the Siberiad, which makes me wonder, and this is completely conjecture of my part, if off camera at some point the Cybusmen met the Mondazian Cybermen and they basically formed a new collective one.
And if this episode was written by any standard Who writer, by which I mean almost any writer other than Neil Gaiman or somebody of his stature, I would kind of think that this whole thing was influenced by the Great Intelligence taking over the Cybermen between episodes, which would kind of fit with the season plot. The only reason I really don't think that is because Gaiman wrote this episode and Moffat didn't really, he had one link to the season plot in his last episode, but I don't.
Now,
generally, he's not as much involved, as much drawn into what's going on with the season as other writers that aren't as high status.
Another reason for that is the fact that Neil Gaiman lives here in Wisconsin, as opposed to in Cardiff or in England, where the other writers can actually sit down and have a conference. If they do that and Gaiman's involved, he's telephoning it in.
Yeah.
They're talking to him as over Skype or the equivalent thereof.
And that whole thing about the river being the only water in the forest was probably penned in by Moffat, after the script was done before they filmed the episode last time.
Oh, probably. Probably. Knowing Moffat.
I don't remember that in that episode.
It was like way at the end, like I refuse to call her by her so-called proper name, so I'm just going to say the TARDIS. Just like randomly, how she's like randomly seeing bits of the future and saying random things. At the end of the episode, she just randomly says to one of them, the river is the only water in the forest, which is a lead-in for the next episode, the next episode or the one after that being.
Although this one does seem to tie into to what's going on a little more than previous episodes, but that's also because we've also seen that this is a season or a half season of standalone episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's possible that it just looks like it's fitting in better because of that, but it had a lead-in from the last episode.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was kind of more of the idea that Gaiman probably wanted to involve children in it. And that brings me to what I would probably say would be my biggest personal critique of this, and I'll stop if you have more that you're going to with the Cybermen, but his use of the children, I feel, and seen other people talk about it, is definitely something that could have made the episode more effective.
Yes, it could have.
I'm thinking I'd be interrupting your thing, so I'll let you finish first.
No, I was actually going to comment off of that. You got to be careful because otherwise you're going to get into Dalek territory when involving children like this.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember correctly, the Seventh Doctor Remembrance of the Daleks, they mentioned the fact that the Daleks would create a battle computer by abducting a particularly bright, imaginative child and plugging him into the machine.
That was a kind of weird thing about that episode, yeah.
No, it makes sense. Because it's the one thing the Daleks lack.
Yes.
Creativity.
But some people might get a little squeamish on that,
What I mean about the children is, if you're going to go to the effort of putting the children in, you should either, especially if you're trying to have it scary like this episode was, you should really either do it through the children's point of view, which would make everything a lot scarier, or at the very least, have them not be, essentially they're taken away a third of the way through the episode, kept out of the way for the vast majority of the episode, pretty much out of harm, because why would the Cybermen want them to be killed, while they're in the process of conversion, and then bring them back at the end of the episode?
Okay, I can see that.
the one way that what was actually done would have worked. You guys remember in the Tenant era when somebody had the earpiece in and you pulled it out, they died.
Mm-hmm.
If they had shown that still happens in this episode and that the only way the Doctor could possibly save them was during that move when he sacrificed his queen, then that would work, because that would really, there would actually be stakes in that. Versus the way it actually was, if the Doctor had won the chess game, the kids would have been safe anyway. So why would he make a move that makes himself lose for the sake of saving someone he was about to save anyway?
Actually, no. It was established by that point that he knew that even if he won the chess game, he was going to get betrayed by the Cyber Planner.
Yep.
Which, by the way, anyone else notice that the Cybermen are taking their cues from the Borg?
Oh, immensely. One of the scenes that I try to lean away from a little bit during the description, but is one of the big problem scenes that I actually had, was the one where the Cyberman walks into the water, fries out for a few seconds, then suddenly stands back up and says, "Upgraded."
There was that, but think of even more Borgish when they got shot by the gun and just adapted to it.
Yes.
Like,
they didn't use that
upgraded.
word, but upgraded was their analogy for it, adapting. And even to the point of, if you look at, Matt Smith wearing just this partially wired lattice, which is, the conversion, it really looks like early stages of Borg conversion.
The Cybermites were extremely awesome, especially in the beginning. I swear I saw stop motion in there, at least the idea of intentionally trying to look like stop motion. They were really nice.
The Cybermites are a logical progression from the Cybermats.
Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
I have no
they
issues
also look
with those.
scary. Yeah, my only problem with them is using them to make Borg out of the cyber conversion process.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, obviously, if there weren't Borg outside of the universe, there's really not that complaint to have. But when you have two races that are that similar, that are already drawing heavy influences from one another.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had mentioned in Skype earlier that it's ironic because when the Borg were related, they were often, it was arguably that the fact that they took their cues from the Cybermen, them being a half bionic race that propagates itself by converting or assimilating other races, was really the Cybermen thing before it became the Borg. And now we've got the Cybermen taking from the Borg, so it's kind of like it's come full circle.
Yep, pretty much. But also the thing is that that same shot that I mentioned with the Cyberman walking into the water, I don't know if it was just me, if anyone else noticed it, but it seemed kind of filmed weakly. It felt like it was like a last-minute film job, if you will.
No, it looked okay.
But there's literally only one Cyberman, and they completely avoided ever looking back.
What's that?
There was only one Cyberman, and they completely avoided ever looking back, so that way they didn't have to show the big group of Cybermen behind them.
Yeah, it was directed bad, I would say.
Yeah.
I noticed, I watched it the second time, and on the follow-up scene, you can then, once he's adapted, I'm going to use adapted, damn it,
Mm-hmm.
You can actually see the leg of another Cyberman as he starts marching in.
But it's only one leg.
Yeah, but it's, basically it's enough to show that they were standing off camera.
Yeah, it was just really badly directed them, because if they did have Cyberman back there, I would want to see them in the background more clearly. But for some reason, they completely avoided that. It just made it feel a lot more weaker of a scene. To me, at least, visually.
And another issue I have is the cyber voice.
That I didn't actually have a problem with.
My only issue is that we've been bitching for a couple of years now that Nick Sprigg's cyber voice is too close to the Daleks. And then he comes through this, and they come out with a new cyber voice, and it's basically just a super deep version of the Dalek voice. It's like an octave or so lower than the Emperor Dalek voice. but it's the same ringtone modulation. I'm kind of like, damn it, Briggs! You did so well on Cold War doing the voice of the Ice Warrior that we thought we'd actually get to see you glow at this. And instead you come out with basically using your Dalek ringtone modulator.
Here's a question. What is your favorite cyber voice?
Oh, God.
Me, it's the 80s one.
Oh, you would like the 80s one.
The excellent one?
Excellent.
Excellent. Yeah, it's that deep...
The deep
It's-
boom.
It's a good villain voice, but it doesn't feel robotic or cyber in any way. Is my thing with it.
Oh, part of me, it would probably be the first one or the one used in the Invasion.
So I take it the Invasion was not the same as Tomb, the way you phrase that?
No, because Tomb, they basically held...
Tomb was the one you could barely understand what they were saying.
I could understand it
Oh,
fine.
I understood them fine.
Yeah, you just have never apparently had somebody that's had their voice box removed due to throat cancer. Or watched enough Ned from South Park. Either way. Because that was what the cyber controller, and I think he was the only one that talked in that, was using
Right.
to talk, because it was somebody with one of those voice modulators. Yeah.
Voice modulators. but then there was the one from the first Doctor, which sounded like this. Which actually sounds like a Dalek a little bit, actually, now that I do it.
But, yeah, that's because you're not doing it right.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No,
There's a weird cadence to that voice.
And actually, if you listen to that episode, they actually didn't all have the same cadence. Like they all had the sing-song quality to it, but they weren't all talking in the same way. Like what you could definitely distinguish the way they spoke from one another if you were paying attention.
Mm-hmm. There's a bizarre kind of way that they talked. I think that was better, wasn't it?
a little bit better, yeah. That nailed it a little bit better. I
There was
paused
one that
too
was
much.
like that, yeah, and then there was.
But
Like-
yeah, if you're a fan of the Doctor Who audio, the Audio Adventure Spare Parts is the Big Finish version of the origin of the Mondas Cybermen.
Yeah,
And they use that particular voice. And I hadn't been fond of that voice until I heard it in Spare Parts, and it was just like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about the first voice either, to be honest. Yeah, I do remember the Tomb of Cyberman. That one was okay. The Invasion one was definitely better, but I still prefer the 80s one myself. That's what the Japanese are using for modern Doctor Who, in fact.
The one from the Invasion is probably the one I've never heard. Then, I would say of the ones I've heard, this episode I think was probably my favorite. Although the 10th Planet one has its role, but I wouldn't want it to be used for every Cyberman episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. My only problem with this voice is it comes off as a bit too Dalek-y for my liking.
Yeah, it still felt a little doggy. It wasn't nearly as bad as the old voice, but it's still kind of meh.
Actually, I found it worse than the old voice like that, because it's using the same modulation as the Daleks. Whereas the other one, he actually was using a different modulator. Like I said, this one sounded like the same voice done an octave lower. It sounded.
He was using a separate modulator in I think Pandorica, because there were a few episodes where he was literally actually is what was it? Doomsday. He would literally speak as a Dalek, change the tone on the modulator, speak as a Cyberman, and then change it back.
Yeah, but he had a different dial setting.
Right.
This one, he's using the same setting, only adjusting the octave pitch lower.
Oh, okay.
It's like an octave or two below what he used to use for the Emperor Dalek voice. For those of you that remember Parting of the Ways, they survived because of me. And he's basically used that same modulation voice, only lowered it a pitch or two.
Yeah.
to get to the upgrading, and it's just like, damn it, Briggs, give me a little more than that, please.
Yeah, it's just still not as strong and as different as we would like it to be. Which again
Yeah.
brings me back to the fact that I would prefer the 80s voice over this. And again, the Japanese, from what I've heard, use a very similar 80s voice.
There used to be some YouTube clips that had Japanese version of Rise of the Cybermen. And yeah,
Okay.
the Japanese, they're not there anymore. I tried to look for them a couple of months ago and couldn't find them.
I just re-listened to. I finally found a clip of the new Cyberman voice on YouTube, and now I see what you're saying. It does sound very much like the Emperor Dalek.
Yes. I was very disappointed when I first heard it like that, and I'm just like, no. Give us some difference. The two biggest enemies the Doctor has faced are the Daleks and the Cybermen, and they should be distinctive from each other.
Mm-hmm. Even in voice, they should be a lot more distinctive. And they're just not doing it.
Yeah.
But again, well, I would say that we should probably get off the bad parts, unless there was something else that we thought was a nitpick worthy of picking at.
Implosion versus explosion.
Oh yes, that's right. Again, nothing that we're going to blame Neil for, but yeah, that was supposed to be an implosion. What was with the earth-shattering kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
It just didn't quite work for me.
Yeah, I kept hearing implosion, and then I saw fireball of particles.
If I
blast
recall,
out.
I was too caught up in how quickly they were teleported off to actually notice what they left behind. Because it was pretty much like he spoke, the bomb activated, and they were instantly teleported.
See, I was able to keep up with it just fine.
Which I know. I mean, it wasn't that I couldn't keep up with it. It was just it was kind of strained my credulity there. That I just couldn't believe that he would have been locked onto and teleported away that quickly. Of course, we don't really get a time frame on this. So you can kind of go with that. Which reminds me, you guys, I've been bringing up, or at least I think it was Randy mainly. That was actually no, you both did. About the use of the word transmat. Is this the first time since not Parting of the Waves, the one before that, Bad Wolf, that word was used?
No, it was also used in one other episode, and that was a Moffat episode. It was Silence in the Library.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
They mentioned the fact that there was a transmat involved in that process.
But yeah, they don't use it as frequently as they used to.
Yes,
Both in current
every
series
time
and
you had a
also in the
teleporter.
classic Who.
Yeah, and in Classic Who, every time you had a teleporter, it was a transmat.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or a TMAT, which was just short for transmat.
Yeah, you kind of get the impression they're trying to distinguish. You know, a teleport has a certain use, and a transmat is a bit more general use, but they don't really appear often enough to really drive that distinction in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're getting teleported by, a non-technological means, I could see, yes, it's a teleport. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing is, Blake 7, the other big British science fiction, used the term teleport.
Mm-hmm.
They used it the same way Star Trek uses transporter. So, it was like, we'll teleport down to the surface and look for supplies. That was their kind of thing for Blake 7. So it's possible that over the years, teleport managed to survive while transmat kind of went to the dodo, at least in the British consciousness.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So when Russell T. Davies brought it back...
To my understanding, at least, transmat has always been a very specific Doctor Who thing, whereas teleport or transport has been used as pretty much a general...
Well, yeah, but, when you say the transporter, Star Trek comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Get into the transporter, will beam you down, or beaming,
right,
is the Star Trek version of that. But whereas Star Trek had the transporter, Doctor Who had transmat.
Right.
Or TMAT. And I'm not sure who had it first. I think it was Doctor Who, because I think it started with the first season of the Second Doctor. I think.
So that would have been very close to around the same time either way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Just about.
And that's the earliest I can think of off the top of my head. I'm not sure if there were any in the first Doctor era.
Not that I'm aware of. They do transporting during that run.
Really, the only thing that was dematerializing was the TARDIS, and I'm not even sure if that word was used in that.
Yeah.
Period.
Actually, no, they did use dematerialize, I believe, once or twice.
But yes, everybody wound up with using transmat, and Doctor Who. The Time Lords had transmat beams.
Like if I recall right, I mean there might have been other instances of it being used, but I feel like at least in the R2D area, teleport was specifically if you had a personal teleportation device, it was a teleport. If you had something that you stood on, or that could be used to ship more than one type of thing, was a transmat. But I mean they might have used it more than one way, but I feel like that's the distinction I feel like they were trying to get across.
Which was kind of stupid from them because the transmat covered both open and closed transports. Also mentioned. It's on the TARDIS wiki, people. You can look it up. Anyway, yeah, it was just nice to see that used in proper context again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of hoping we get to see it more often.
Speaking of other good things, Matt Smith actually acting again. Can I say yay?
Well, he was technically acting like a 5-year-old, but he was acting like an evil, psychotic, vindictive 5-year-old. And in the way, I enjoyed the acting, but I didn't like the way that was written, too.
I was going to say, my only complaint with it was essentially a Cyberman mind that was still speaking like he was Matt Smith.
In a way, he was, and he wasn't. I get the feeling he was also kind of shuffling through the Doctor's memories. Because there was a very point where he became very Tennant for...
He said the words fantastic and Alonzi in the same sentence.
And you've got some cowboys in here. Also at that same time. Which was something that Tennant said a few times.
I forget exactly what word it was. I think he used the word dreamy. And I was just sitting here like, a Cyberman using the word dreamy. Like, you could totally picture the Doctor saying it, that's fine, but any form of Cyberman using a word like that, it feels like any other Cyberman that heard him would have been like, like, the programming's been corrupted, we must destroy him.
Yeah, he came off as being way too emotional.
Right.
And there's like at one point where he's watching as they're about to kill the kids, and he's stifling a laugh.
Yes,
and that was far too human a gesture.
He would have worked as a Borg. I could have seen him completely as a Borg, but because their Borg are at least a bit more human. They're driven by the Queen and whatever. They've got human touches to them, whereas the Cyberman's entire goal is removing the emotion. Removing the human touches. I can't see them wanting to adapt so that their cyber planner could think more like the Doctor.
Yeah, it seemed to be off. Mind you, the acting for it was...
Yeah, he acted it out perfectly well, but the writing just didn't feel Cyberman.
Yeah, the writing seemed just to be a hair off. And again, I'm not entirely sure if we can blame Neil on this, because who knows who else had hands in this, too. I mean, yeah, he wrote the original script, but even the director and the actors could have their own hands in on this as well. So things might have gotten mixed up and changed about or something, too.
I can't imagine they would change such a pivotal bit of dialogue that much from
And it
what
wasn't
such a
just a
high
bit of
profile.
dialogue; it was the entire dialogue
It
of
was
that character.
Yeah, I mean, it was a major thing of dialogue. Plus, like it would be one like if it was like generic Joe Doctor Who writer, you could see a lot of changes. But when someone like Neil Gaiman Adams or someone like that writes a script, people don't want to change a lot of it.
And that's the thing. I hold Neil Gaiman to a higher bar than I hold these other writers.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit that. I mean, this is Neil effing Gaiman. This is the guy whose list of awards he's won is like a mile long.
And also, I might add that he has admitted wildly to be a Doctor Who fan, which also furthers the point that I would think he knows how to write a Cyberman better than that.
Okay. He has won the Hugo Award, the Nebula Award, the Bram Stoker Award, the Newbery Medal, and the Carnegie Medal. He is the first author to win both the Newbery and the Carnegie Medals for the same piece of work. This is a man.
What? He doesn't have an Oscar yet.
He's not an actor.
No, but he's written.
And he's only
screenplays.
recently got into movie writing.
Oh, okay.
Most of these things that have Neil's name on it for movies is usually stuff based after books he's already written.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So he doesn't really have that much of a hand in it.
That's true, and I don't think. Yeah, I don't.
And he's been largely a co-writer. One of the first things he did was he wrote the 2007 movie Beowulf. He was co-writer on that, though.
Oh, the animated movie?
Yes.
Just got that recently. Love that movie.
And it frightens me slightly. Well, it's probably better in 2D. I went to see it in 3D and was horrible.
Oh, I've only ever seen it in 2D, so...
A lot of sharp, stabby things going towards your eyes in 3D.
The only movie I've ever seen in 3D was the newer Ghost Rider, but that's another topic.
But yeah, he's actually currently working on a script of a new film version of Journey to the West. And I'm really kind of eager to see that. But yeah, this guy is a professional writer that has won massive awards and has had a couple of successful series of, well, books and comics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Sandman,
sure
I'm
people...
still collecting Sandman.
Yeah, and that's Neil Gaiman.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, I hold him to a higher level because of the fact that he is this big, huge. I mean, I heard he was writing for Doctor Who back last time. I'm like, how the heck could they afford to get someone like Neil Gaiman? You know?
He's a fan. That's how they can afford him.
And
probably the same way they can afford Warwick Davis.
well, but no, I mean, that was my immediate reaction to that.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be like if you had a series that was a spy thriller and you get Tom Clancy to write one of your episodes.
Right.
It's, it was just like epic win. So I hold him to a slightly higher bar because he is this huge established person. So my nitpicks, mind you, come from there.
And again, yeah, I would also like to say that it might be him, but I can't say that it all could be him either, because, again, he is a fan, he is a devotee, and he knows what Cybermen were long before he was picked to write this episode.
Yes,
so,
my bitch on the cyber voice does not reflect on Gaiman at all. That's wholly...
Oh, yeah, the voice itself is totally that.
I think that's talking about the Matt Smith cyber.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm focusing on the Matt Smith acting as the cyber control, and it's like, I don't know. It didn't bug me particularly, but looking at it, maybe a little bit could have been fixed.
On one hand, I like the way that it was portrayed. On the other hand, I kind of wish they had dubbed over Borg Doctor with a voice modulator or something.
Or even gotten Matt Smith to actually talking to one to dub over.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it would have been Matt, but dubbing over himself, or even no, this would probably not be as good. I'm kind of thinking if they had him do the Mondas voice thing, but that probably would not come out as good on screen.
No, that really wouldn't do that good either. No, that on screen, no.
That and a large number of fans would have been like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, a large amount of people who don't understand would have been going,
Yeah,
"What was that? That was stupid."
Part of the issue too is the fact that they needed to have the voice be close enough that Clara couldn't tell which was which. So if he was talking like this, Clara would have noticed.
I meant more like when they were talking inside his head, but sure. I mean, even a Dalek, if it's in a man, like if it's in some sort of way that can mimic human speech, can, when it's deceiving somebody, sound human, even if it wouldn't normally. These, most Doctor Who villains have deceit as an art form. Even if they would normally sound very cyber, they can make themselves sound very human if they choose to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, matter of fact, don't Cybermen occasionally throw their voices too?
I don't remember that.
I could have sworn they'd done that once or twice before.
Speaking of Cybermen, I have to wonder what episode did the Black Ones feature in?
That was Attack of the Cybermen.
Okay.
They were Cyber Scouts.
Oh, actually, Matt just put this on the stream. Was trying to help me think. I was sitting there watching the episode. They had the EMP gloves. I'm sitting there like, in the Matrix, they had a wide-scale EMP that could wipe out Sentinels for a mile. Why would somebody at war with the Cybermen not have that on hand just in case?
Yeah, why wouldn't they always have something like that?
Like, I understand you wouldn't want to have an EMP on your ship, but on a planet, you'd kind of think they'd be available, especially with the military garrison there.
Mm-hmm. Should have been a lot more well-armed than that.
You could kind of write it out by saying that the Cybermen adapted to wide-scale EMPs long ago, but...
Then wouldn't short-scale EMPs be the same problem then? But I would also add that apparently this is supposed to be like some sort of B squad, because they kind of were playing these people for being a bunch of, second-rate dorks.
They were saying they were there on punishment duty for being troublemakers, I believe was the...
Or failing at their duty, yeah.
I feel like there have been movies based on that concept, but I haven't watched any.
Oh, guarantee you, there's been dozens of movies.
I'm sure somebody who watches action movies could name a couple off the top of their head.
I watch some action movies. I'm not a heavy watcher or anything.
Yeah, the action movies that I watch either star Jet Li or are made by Marvel Studios.
Very select amount that you watch there, Bill. But, yeah. Yeah, these were technically the B Squad. And again, the captain, she strikes me as familiar. Can anyone look her up? She really strikes me as somebody familiar. I should know.
I think it's more of the archetype, to the point where she plays a character that we've seen ever since...
I'll look it up for you.
I literally mean the actress herself. She seems very familiar to me, and I'm not sure why. But it just struck me as odd when I first saw her. It's like
Tamsin Outhwaite.
I'm trying to think, because I swore I've seen
I don't think you would know her, Matt, because I don't think you watch EastEnders.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you watch EastEnders, you would know who she is.
Actually, I may have seen clips, so that might be the reason why.
She's really done nothing else of note.
Okay. was gonna say, because of what if anything else?
Um, well, she's also in Great Expectations,
Wouldn't know
which
anything
I
about
doubt
that.
you watched too. Yeah.
EastEnders, I've seen tidbits and clips, so that might be the reason why my brain's saying something. There's something over there. Hey, you should be paying attention to that. What's that?
Did you ever watch the BBC sci-fi crime series Paradox?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay,
Don't
no,
think
she
so.
was in that. Other than that, yeah, I'm not seeing anything that you would have any knowledge on.
So it's probably due to EastEnders because I know I've seen tons of bits and clips all over the place from EastEnders because, well, that's the big British show, is it not?
Was she in Dimensions and Time?
Nah, not that I'm aware of.
I would hope not.
Oh no, never mind. They said she started in EastEnders in 1998. Dimensions was 93.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a
so, no.
number of years afterwards, yeah.
She before that, she did a lot of direct-to-video stuff.
That goes to show how long EastEnders ran. I'm gonna have to click on that.
Yeah,
Do
that
they
show's
show it?
long. I think that show's...
EastEnders has been around forever.
I was going to
It's
say at least
not as
70s
long
or
as
60s.
Doctor Who, but it
I want to say I was going to say I want to say 60 late 60s early 70s for sure.
nope, it started in
February
1985.
85, oh,
to
way
present.
later.
So they're still running.
Yep.
Some
No, in
things
fact,
outlive
part
the
of-
80s.
Part of the reason that Doctor Who got its lineup changed
Yeah.
was because of EastEnders.
EastEnders and A-Team tried to kill Doctor Who. After a few years, they succeeded in doing that too.
It was EastEnders was what facilitated the Doctor Who to move to, I think it was weeknights, into a 45-minute format instead of the usual 20.
Mm-hmm.
And no, the one I was thinking of that's even longer than that is Coronation Street.
Oh yeah.
And that one's been going since, like, God was a small kid.
Jesus was a twinkle
Yeah,
in
the
God's
first
eye
Coronation.
when that show was on the air.
Yeah, that one actually outlasts. That one actually buries Doctor Who in length. Started in 1960.
Is it still running?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I was gonna say, I think I've
52
heard
years,
of.
160 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I've seen advertisements for it from direct BBC recordings that I've seen. So yeah, it's still around. Sucker's gotta be ancient. Probably right up there with General Hospital.
Coronation Street actually started with the first coronation. Yeah.
Here's a question: is anybody there that was acting at that time still in the show?
Probably not.
I highly doubt it. It's been the better part of 70 years.
I'm thinking either Leonard Nimoy or what's his name? Bernard Cribbins, is that right? No, I'm gonna have to look up. I'm trying to figure out who would have the record
Actually, yes. Though he wasn't in the entire run.
for. Right.
There's Philip Lowry was one of the characters. Started in 1960, went to 68, and then has resumed the role in 2011.
Also, so somebody beats out Nimoy and Cribbins in terms of length of years having the same role on a show.
Yep.
Or not the same role. Cribbins didn't have the same role, but
How did Godzilla
Yeah.
get in here?
Huh?
that might need.
That's a non sequitur. That
I'm sorry, I'm going through the images for Nightmare in Silver, and there's a Godzilla poster out of the clear blue sky. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, plop. What's that doing with the Cybermen?
It caused nightmares and it was on the silver screen. Maybe.
Slap.
I don't know.
I could buy that. Oh, wow. There is one guy that has been doing Coronation Street from 1960 to present.
Damn.
You got to give somebody like that kudos.
You're gonna make Spock look like a slacker.
No kidding.
William Roach has been doing the same role probably his entire career.
Probably got used to it and scared to move on.
Talk about being typecast.
That you got to give the guy credit for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about Doctor Who before we got up to the point of other British television shows.
Matt keeps scrolling by that same image of Sylvester McCoy. Is that the only image online of that?
I saw there's the Matt Smith one. There was, I believe, one or two of the other ones. But yeah, that one keeps popping up a lot. They love this. I can't blame them. They love their Sylvester McCoy. Apparently, they love their '80s Doctor.
That was a good scene. I mean, we get those every few seasons, but it's good to have one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this of all episodes was a good time to have one of those.
Oh yeah.
Flashback things. Although it would have been nice if we had gotten an evolution of the Cybermen type of thing.
As well, yeah.
I mean, it might have been a bit forced though if they did.
So, which does actually lead us to the conversation of the new cyber outfits. As I mentioned, I do think the little chest thing is a little bit Iron Man.
Oh, here we go, John Pertwee. We found Pertwee.
You know, as I try to get the podcast back on topic, and the other two members of this podcast completely and totally resist going off tangent.
No! Tangents! It's what keeps the viewers, man.
It's what loses viewers. How many viewers do we have right now?
We're still at 2 or 3. 2.
Now, who actually has this open? Because I don't.
I do.
So that means someone else is on here because they don't count me. So hi, other viewer.
Okay, I don't have it open on both computers. That's good.
I'd have to punch you then, Bill.
But yes, the new cyber outfits. Your opinions?
I like it.
I don't see it as any better or worse than the previous one. I put them at about equal.
I don't know. They look more flexible than the old outfits.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot more movement to these.
What did you guys think of the flash speed?
That didn't bother me, even when they went into Matrix time for a little bit.
I mean, they didn't really show it long enough for me to really form a concrete opinion of it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a nice. Hey, look, they don't just lumber now; they can actually move. Mm-hmm. The question for me becomes, why don't they move like that all the time?
So I'm going to do this in slow.
I'm kind of thinking that the new episode does look actually a bit more. Actually, well, you just said flexible. I would say it also just seems a bit more. I'm trying to think of the right word. It looks a bit, I guess, scarier would be the right word. Like the other one, I think is a bit more imposing in terms of bulk and whatever, but whereas this one is a bit. It's a bit more skeletal and organic.
Yeah, it's a little more streamlined, and there's something about the face that kind of throws you off a little bit more than the old
Actually,
ones.
I like the face.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's bad.
I find the face to be a throwback to like the Invasion era Cybermen.
Yeah, I'm not saying by a long shot that's bad. It just kind of throws you off a little bit more than the other previous ones. And
that's kind of where skeletal came to me too. Because if you look at that face, you can it's not quite the outline of a skull, but it's close. It's closer, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
As I skim through the episode to get a good shot of a cyber face.
Want me to zoom in? I can zoom in.
Nope, I think I found one.
Zoomed.
Remember,
course, it
I'd have
takes
to be
this-
watching the stream.
Yeah, and it takes the stream a few seconds to catch up.
Yep. And no, I've got one of them. And what really gives it that the opinion that makes it look skeletal is the fact that it has those little indentions on the side.
Yeah.
Makes it look more skull-like.
Cheekbones.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it gives it that fake cheek structure.
And I'd kind of say with the new abilities and such introduced here in terms of making them a more intimidating enemy, that this episode did for Cybermen what Dalek did for Daleks.
I don't know. I think this did for Cybermen what Victory of the Daleks tried to do.
Yeah.
Yes. And the thing about Victory of the Daleks, the more I learn about Dalek history, the more I realize that every good idea in Victory of the Daleks was used elsewhere before Victory was ever written. Like,
Oh, I don't
even
know.
the-
Go ahead.
like even the idea of having, an older group of Daleks and a newer group of Daleks with better weapons has been done before, except in an area where the two fought each other. In which case, they definitely could have done a good thing where, had they made it so that the more powerful Daleks had to prove their worth by killing the other Daleks, whereas instead of the other Daleks just letting them kill them,
But
even that would
have we had color-coordinated Sentai Daleks before?
In, the
Technically
60s.
we have in the 60s. Technically, a lot of those Daleks in the 60s were actually borrowed from the movie. Daleks.
And in the chase and probably Dalek's master plan.
Yeah, except for the fact that we really couldn't see them in the chase in Dalek's Master Plan because they were filmed in black and white.
Sure.
You could tell a couple of them if you really looked for it. But they were technically there.
The first time the movie Daleks ever appeared on screen was actually the chase, not the movie.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the chase was released just shortly before the first movie came out.
Yeah, and they reused them because it was cheap.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time I think we've actually seen them go out of their way to make Sentai Daleks and bring it in with function. Tie it in, this is the researcher.
And the fan backlash was so negative that they never addressed that again.
I know. I'm
was
sorry.
bull.
I kind of want to know where they were going. Like, I kind of want to see what they were doing with the scientist, the strategist, the Eternal, and everything. Although I do feel kind of weird about the idea of there being a top drone, which is what the Red basically came out to be. He's supposed to be the drone Dalek, but since there are so few of the new ones made, he basically became an officer drone.
Yeah, well, it also bugged me that that's the colors they chose for, that.
Yeah.
Because
That's
some of
right,
the roles that they gave to colors had already been established by roles by Daleks before. Like, the white one should have been black, I think.
Eh.
Because, every time you face the Dalek Supreme, he's been black.
Except in the Journey's End, where he was red.
That one wasn't...
But I think he was red and black.
That was not the Dalek Supreme.
Well, he was. They called him Supreme Dalek, though.
Which is different from Dalek Supreme, believe it or not.
It's true, but...
I think there's a couple other times where they had black Daleks who were not leaders, but I can't really name them off the top of my head at the moment, to be honest.
I
Are you
can't...
thinking of the gray ones?
They might have repainted charcoal gray ones,
Because
yeah, maybe.
during the whole Dalek Civil War thing, there was the gray ones with black leaders versus the white ones with gold leaders.
Yeah, things were a little confused.
And not to mention ancient cameras, yay. Colors blending. to mention how dark TVs are these days.
Yeah, because the red Dalek is basically the rank above the black Dalek. He's usually like the toady to the Emperor. So having him be the head drone was just like, no.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't have any problems with him, other than the fact that I was waiting for them to form Voltron.
I formed the Megazord.
We need Dalek Zord power now. But yeah, doing this to the Cybermen is what they tried to do in Victory. Bring them out bigger, badder, more powerful.
And despite our nitpicks, we nitpick because we love. And to be quite honest, this was far more
Yeah,
effective.
and now looking at that, when you really see these Cybermen in action, you cannot deny that you're scared shitless.
I'm like, oh crap. And yeah, yes, they're taking some leads from the Borg, but that's because the Borg are effing scary.
Yeah, and
And they've taken what makes the Borg effing scary and apply it to the Cybermen.
Which is pretty much Granddaddy's catching up now. Hi.
The only thing is, I still prefer the Borg's color scheme, but you're not going to apply that to Cybermen and have them be anything but fake Borg. So
Yeah.
that's not something that would even be considered.
No.
And I do think
you want to see a whole bunch of black Cybermen? And a really bad Blazing Saddles reference just shot through my head.
But I do think these Cybermen, I don't know if it was the lighting or the actual suits, because I feel like the suits in bright light are the same color, but with the lighting of this episode, they came across as being a lot darker than we've been seeing.
Well, look at it this way. If I was doing it, they would have been in chrome, so...
Chrome!
It's because I'm a cyberpunk fan, and, you can't have cyberpunk without your chrome.
Which, again, is 80s Cybermen all over again. Chrome!
Yes, but chrome and dangerous, not chrome and camp.
True. Then again, Chrome does well with the whole, take Cybermen and then name episodes with them silver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fits well.
You wait, I will eventually have a story that will involve chrome Cybermen.
It's like gunmetal Cybermen would be intimidating, but not very silver.
Which is,
That'd
I
be
think, technically
gray.
what the previous ones were.
That was actually kind of 80s Cybermen. They were kind of gunmetal colored.
Well, the first appearance, yeah, but they gradually got more and more chrome as they went along.
And then you had, the rebirth in steel, and they weren't silver, they were steel. The Age of Steel. So they were supposed to look steel-like. So this is bringing them back to silver.
Which is yet another hint of this being the original Mondasians.
True.
If you really think about it that way, because the other ones are supposed to be bland steel, while these are silver. Ergo, we're back.
My Cybermen are in titanium, bitches.
Yeah. Has adamantium appeared in Doctor Who?
No.
I think there's been an equivalent. Hasn't there been a Doctor Who created equivalent?
Dalekanium. Which,
yeah,
apply it to Cybermen, please.
Yeah, Cybermen and Dalekanium would be a bad idea.
The Cybermen have boobs.
The bumps.
Oh,
Dalek
God!
bumps.
Yes, I was waiting for that! For the win!
If anybody in the audience does not get what's going on, then go Google Curse of Fatal Death.
Curse. Yes.
I forgot what I was about to Google. Thank you very much.
Fried Bill's brain! Randy, high five through the net!
I was about to. Oh, I remember. Okay, I was about to look for an image or something.
Oh, he broke his
They
hamstring for a
look
few
at
seconds.
etheric beam locators. And they're quite firm. And I've just killed Matt.
Oh god. I think I've only seen that thing like twice, so it's still hilarious as hell.
I'm trying to find the image of
And
the
it was written by
sacrifice.
Stephen Moffat.
Oh, here we go. I found a still image. It doesn't have the same effect as in motion, but the I think that link will work. But the Cybermites crawling, the 4 or 5 of them or however many were crawling in that one scene, and I swear they were going for a stop motion effect with that, even though it was probably made with CGI.
Possibly.
It's easy enough to attempt, though.
Possibly trying to have a throwback to the classic Cybermites. Or Cybermats.
Right. How often did Cybermats appear? I mean, I know they were in Tomb, and they weren't particularly...
They were at Tomb, and they were in Revenge of the Cybermen. I don't think they made another appearance until they showed up again in the new series.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, although people always remembered them.
Yeah. And
And
they looked really, really stupid in Tomb, and then they had a much better look in Revenge. But
and then
that's because that's like the only thing they spent budget on in that episode.
Then in the Flesh two-parter, they kind of foreshadowed the fact that Cybermats would be back because the Doctor was quizzing himself about them.
Mm-hmm. And then they showed up again in
Closing Time.
Yeah, Closing Time. I can never remember the name of that episode largely because I've done my best to try to expunge season 6 from my memory.
Especially the
And
last
largely
half.
because the name of that has nothing to do with silver or much of anything.
And when I think of Closing Time, I think of a bar.
That and maybe the idea of Cybermen defeated by the power of love is that's not one of their best known weaknesses.
Yeah.
Heart.
I just hate that whole series. Pretty much right from the beginning, right to the end.
The cyber fleet is being destroyed by Mati.
Oh god.
I mean, I'm sorry. If Cybermen can be defeated by the power of love, you're getting close to throwing Lin Min-Mei at them. And I would rather not try to recreate Macross with Cybermen. No.
Nope. No thanks.
We will destroy the Cybermen with the power of song. Play the power song.
Oh, Rick.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there, Matt. I'm warning you. Okay, so new costumes, good. Warwick Davis was excellent in this episode.
Yes, he was. We haven't touched on him much, but that's largely because there's only so much you can say.
I mean, this is freaking
Wicked W.
Warwick. This is Flitwick from Harry Potter. This is Willow, for Christ's sake.
I'm fucking Willow.
This man is epic. And no matter
And the
what's
Leprechaun.
in,
Don't forget the
he's
Leprechaun.
Oh yeah, he's the sole reason the Leprechaun movies exist.
I'm trying not to hold that against him.
Hey, he liked doing it, and that's all that mattered.
I'm just not fond of those movies, personally.
I've only seen the first one, and that was
They're
many
not
years
my
ago.
genre.
They're definitely our genre.
There are genres. I was about to say, yeah. I own 3 or 4 of them now. I think should really look into my library again.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Neil Gaiman was sitting there watching Leprechaun one day. You're like, you know who needs to be in my Doctor Who episode? That guy.
Well, the fact that, the casting call called for a midget, and it's a sci-fi show, I'm surprised we didn't wind up with Deep Roy. Because, he's in like he's like playing every sci-fi short man out there these days.
I guess I should Google that name and see if I...
Deep Roy, he was the guy that was in the modern day Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He was all the Oompa Loompas.
Oh, him.
And the 2009 and the current Star Trek one, he's Scotty's little alien friend. The one that Scotty's constantly telling to get down.
Hard to get much lower, sir. Down!
Because he likes to climb over things. And, oh god, he's been in so many things.
If Doctor Who was made in America, they probably would have casted Tony Cox.
I don't know. Deep Roy is a bit bigger, I think, than Tony Cox these days.
I can't tell if that's a size joke or not, considering the subject matter.
Speaking of which, they really didn't bring the whole size thing into it too often, and they didn't make it some sort of generic midget character either.
Just FYI, Deep Roy is one of Warwick Davis's contemporary. Played another character in Return of the Jedi. Not, though, an Ewok, I think. I think Deep Roy was Lando Calrissian's. No, he was. No, he was one of the he was one of the members of the Max Rebo band. He played Droopy McCool.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, they had a lot of roles in those two movies that called for people of less than average size.
Also, he was in Doctor Who back in the 70s as Mr. Sin in the classic Talons of Wang Chiang. I didn't even know that.
And I bet if we look hard enough, we'll find that he had a role in a Harry Potter movie too.
No. He was, however, in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen as the Egyptian border guard. I do remember seeing that movie.
Now, why would you tarnish?
That's Deep Roy.
Why would you tarnish the guy by associating him with Michael Bay?
Hey, I brought up Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I hate that movie. Mostly, though, I hate it because of Johnny Depp's portrayal. But we're not talking about that.
Johnny Depp's portrayal of Michael Jackson?
Of Willy Wonka as Michael Jackson, yes. Give me...
I haven't watched that movie straight on, but every time I see a scene from that, I'm like, wait, why is he playing Michael Jackson? Isn't he supposed to be playing Willy Wonka?
Yeah, that's kind of my thought on it. Give me Gene Wilder's portrayal any day. By the way, if they were ever to make an American version of Doctor Who, Gene Wilder could so totally play the Doctor.
Is he still around?
I think so. I hope so. I think he might have died recently.
Yeah, I thought he had died. I know we had a conversation about him at least once before.
I don't think he's around anymore. I thought he died years ago already. I thought. I don't know. He definitely hasn't been doing anything lately.
He's still around.
Really?
He's retired.
Retired.
He is retired.
Okay. Retired. Christopher Lee needs to kick his ass and show him what retirement is about.
Now you're supposed to do rock bands. Heavy metal.
Gene Wilder released his first novel in 2007.
So he's writing instead.
Yep.
Anywho, Warwick Davis.
Yes, the guy is, I mean, when it comes to actors of small stature, Warwick Davis is like the king.
And he's been king since like the 80s, man.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Now here's the thing.
He's been sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and has
Warwick Davis
out all of them.
is not much older than me.
Really?
Yes. He's a little bit over 40.
I remember he was just a kid in Jedi.
Yes.
Which means he had to be almost a teenager by the time they hit Willow.
Yeah. Okay, so he was born in 70. He was 13 years old when they did Return of the Jedi.
And I remember seeing some interviews with him when they were casting for it. He didn't even actually know what movie he was auditioning for. There was so much secrecy behind the whole casting call.
He's surprised.
He was 16 when he did one of the Goblin Corps in the movie Labyrinth.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Dang, I didn't know he was in that.
Now you do.
Now I do, and it's even more awesome! Jim Henson and Warwick Davis, hell yeah!
And he was 18 when he did Willow.
Yep.
And he was in his 20s when he did the Leprechaun movies. Including Leprechaun 4 in Space.
Yep. Which isn't even the last one, I believe. I believe there's one more after that. I think that...
Actually, there's two.
There's at least 6
Leprechaun in the
Leprechauns.
Hood and Leprechaun 2, Back to the Hood. And you like these movies.
I've only seen the first one. I saw the first one many moons back.
He was cast as Professor Flitwick in the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. He was also a goblin bank teller in that, by the way. And then proceeded to play Flitwick in every other Harry Potter movie that came out. Was he in all 8? Because they must have changed the way they dressed his character. They redesigned the character, but
Yeah,
it's still him.
So my family and I were talking about it. We thought maybe they changed the actor and couldn't figure out why they did or why they changed the character.
Different director decided he needed a different costume. So all we can figure is that Flitwick somehow transfigured or charmed himself to look differently somewhere along the lines of the movies. But let's see, he was he was in he was also, by the way, young Greedo in Star Wars Episode 1. Actually, he was a couple of other roles in there. And for those of you that like the 2005 Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, he was the physical actor that did Marvin the Paranoid Android.
Yep. Which I might also add, it was voiced by the Sheriff of Nottingham from Robin Hood, King of Thieves. Prince of Thieves.
And yes, he was in all 8 Harry Potters. Although Flitwick himself was not in the part 1, but he did do Grip Hook in that, so he was still there.
Grip Hook?
The Goblin Teller from...
right.
Yes. He was also he was Nickabrick in Chronicles of Narnia Prince Caspian.
he was in Merlin.
So he's been busy. He's been a busy little actor. And he stopped from all this acting, turn around and do Porridge in Nightmare in Silver and do it wonderfully.
Wonderfully, yes. And I like the fact that they threw in that little tidbit of him actually being the Emperor and held on to that till the very end.
Mm-hmm. A reluctant Emperor, one that ran away because he was sick of, all the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It was very well done.
I'm kind of hoping they do bring him back for more. Be awesome to keep going with that character. There's always a chance of it happening. I mean, we've done that a number of times before.
Just judging by the fact that they got such a name actor for it, I just have a feeling we won't see him very, very frequently.
I'm hoping he'll be a recurring character.
It's just like it'd be like getting Ian McKellen again. Probably not likely to.
Hey, we keep seeing Richard E. Grant coming back again and again and again.
Yeah, so there's always a chance.
Yeah, but Grant kind of took the role that McKellen had originally had, didn't he?
Well, as the Yeah, I think it was Richard E. Grant that did the um, voice again in the first episode of series 7 to 7B, Bells of St. John. That was what I was looking for. Brain died on me.
Reboot.
Yeah, it was Richard E. Grant doing the Great Intelligence in there. Probably because they wouldn't be able to get Ian McKellen again.
Well, it was more than just the voice. You could actually see a little bit of him in the screen, too.
That would also be why.
Mm-hmm.
But if you saw the trailer for next week's episode, there was a brief picture of Richard E. Grant back physically material in that. So apparently, coming back again, whether as the Great Intelligence made corporeal, or as what's-his-face, Simeon, we don't know yet.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yes. Now, other than Warwick Davis, most of the cast did okay. There's been a lot of bitching about the kids.
The kids weren't in it long enough to really bitch about, to be honest.
No, I think the main issue was having the girl come in. You know, she's automatically able to figure everything out while having an attitude the entire time she's on screen. She figures out he's the Emperor. She figures out this and that, and is just totally in your face every moment that she's actually there.
Yeah, having that attitude problem. But she is that age. It's just making her the one to figure all the stuff out was, not really the pleasant way of showing that.
Right.
Still,
I mean, she's the age that you have massive problems with authority figures.
Yeah, it's like, if it was just that, there probably would be a little less to complain about. Although I really wish we had actually just gotten a scene of the kids being scared of the monsters attacking the planet,
That would have been nice.
It's like, if you're having kids in a horror story, that's really where their real draw comes from, is they have that raw terror.
And, yeah, you can't do that when they're cyber-converted.
or on the verge of being ready to be cyber converted, yeah.
Especially a character like that, it would be so easy to forgive her attitude if you just saw her run and hide and...
When shit got real,
yeah.
And then
he
suddenly
responded as if shit got real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then suddenly realized why the parental units are there for what they do.
Mm-hmm. Becoming a moral lesson in the process.
Yes.
Edutainment.
Oh, Jarg.
But yeah, everyone else did well.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see Clara in charge, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, she finally got to go, okay, I'm in charge. Yeah, okay.
And then we get to the finale where the planet explodes instead of implodes, and I blame the production team.
Yeah, that one you blame the production team on, because that was their fault. They apparently didn't read the script very well.
And you'd be surprised how many people just don't quite get the difference between an explosion and an implosion. Which is kind of ironic because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is, I would say at this point, probably geared toward a younger audience than Doctor Who is of this era, kind of made a point of the difference between a bomb that explodes and one that implodes, to the point where it was both humorous and definitely memorable for someone who had no idea what they were talking about.
It's moments like this I get the whole concept in the 90s to push for edutainment.
Yeah.
Because apparently there's a lot of people that apparently failed school, or at least should have failed school. And these people are in charge of doing things like physics stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would add that
the script
implosion...
says it's supposed to implode, so I'm just going to make it go kablooey.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. Huh.
It has "plode" in the title. It must
He
be.
said plode.
Oh.
I'm sorry, but that seems to be the mentality of some people out there that you can't
Really?
figure out basics. Yes, I pulled the Beavis and Butthead card.
At least Michael Bay wasn't directing it.
Well, then he
there
would have
would've
shot
been
it like
explosions all
porn.
over the place.
Yeah, it would have shot like porn then, Bill. Do you really want Cyberman shot like it's porn?
I don't think so.
There are some great lines in this episode. I almost said movie.
Well, you've been seeing movies.
I love the fact that the cyber planner tries to prove he's the doctor by coming on to Clara.
Right.
Promptly shuts him down. And then after the doctor wins, she asks what she thinks that if she thought that what if he thought she was pretty, and he's like, no.
Yeah, I like it.
Short and bossy.
She's like,
and your nose is...
even if he did think that, he would rather die than tell me.
Yeah.
Which pretty much hits it right on the nose, and she asks him knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like response. No, you're too short and bossy, and your nose does that thing. I'm just like, yes.
And of course, he knew why she was asking, because she was like good, and any woman being told that in almost any other situation would have been pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew exactly why she was asking.
Yep. So anyway, I think we have hit our 2-hour limit. Actually.
That's right. I didn't mention this. This image on the stream kind of reminded me. I kind of like how they landed in because what is this? The moon base?
Yeah.
The moon.
And those kids obviously failed their intelligence check, because if they were on by a moon base, they would be, choking to death.
Which is why I thought
unless they knew about the TARDIS's air bubble.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, correct me if I'm wrong, we never did get a Sixth Doctor reference this episode, right?
I didn't see one.
Sixth Doctor reference?
We got references to chess, which is a Seventh Doctor trademark, but the 11th Doctor has also played chess. We got Alonzi and Fantastic.
Uh-huh.
And there was something else that reminded me of the Ninth Doctor, but I forget what it was now. It was right before that scene, right before the Fantastic discussion.
Unless you consider the split personality thing a Sixth Doctor trait, which he did have when he first popped up. He kind of was mentally flaking.
Yeah, that's a bit subtle.
Yeah.
Because could also have been a Fifth Doctor thing who had a mental flake out. Yeah, I looked for a Sixth Doctor reference in here, and I did not see one.
I wish I remember something specifically stood out to me as, that might or might not be a Ninth Doctor reference.
Now, you see, what really would have made this a perfect episode for me is if the big reveal about why the Cybermen were there was the fact that the Earth Empire, without knowing it, had built this amusement park on top of the remains of Telos.
Yeah. That would be something, definitely.
That would have just been like, wow. Perfect. It's like, that's where the Cybermen came from. We fought this huge war. We killed them, and 1,000 years later, we go ahead and plop amusement park right on the same location. You talk about irony. It would have been perfect. And it would have explained everything.
Yeah, but we didn't get an explanation, so... yeah.
Well, we did, in a way. Is the fact that apparently this is where the Cybermen built what they referred to as a Valkyrie facility.
There was a reference to people disappearing over the years that were actually going toward Cybermen. What did you guys think of the Cybermen specifically targeting the children?
Oh, they said there was a need for it.
Yeah.
And I think that was because they needed, again, I think it was close to what the Daleks did.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it would be because they don't really have need. That's not really a need for them in terms of reproduction.
Yeah, it was, I think they needed the creativity to create cyber planners.
Mm-hmm. But then, oh, look at this giant, huge Time Lord brain.
That does create a scary leap for the Cybermen, by the way. Being able to move into non-human hosts.
Yeah, that is
Really?
a leap.
The thing is, really, a Time Lord is the scariest non-human host they're likely to get their hands on.
No. No.
Who would you be more scared of the Cybermen taking over than the Doctor?
A Dalek.
I was just
Well,
about to say.
how is a Cyberman going to... A Cyberman taking over a Dalek? I just don't see it. I mean, unless they took the tentacle thing out of the Dalek casing and put
Unless,
it into...
of course, you got one of those little nano things into the Dalek casing.
Or a whole bunch of them.
Cyberception.
Oh, that's just a bad thought, and I hope Stephen Moffat does not have the same thought.
Ugh.
I mean, at
I
that
give
rate,
myself nightmares. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have nightmares tonight based just off that concept.
Way to go, Randy.
Of course, this might lead to some epic fiction for me.
We are Cyber Daleks.
That's gonna cause some mental scars.
Way to go, Randy. Oh, you can do it to yourself.
Now, Davros becoming a Cyberman might be a little scarier than the Doctor becoming one.
That's not one I'd like to think of either.
Yeah, that would be Davros without any controls, and he
And
has
that would
control.
definitely be a cyber planner right there.
Mhm.
Or hire back John Sim, the master cyber planner.
Ooh. But those are plans for another time. As again, we are actually over our 2-hour limit for usual podcast.
Okay, well then we should probably move on to final thoughts and rating.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best episode I've seen this series. This is arguably the best episode I've seen in the last 2 series, probably since The Doctor's Wife, which was the last Neil Gaiman episode.
Which in of itself says something.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors out there right now that part of the reason this series has gone the way it is they're hunting to be who's going to be the next showrunner. Give it to Neil.
Please, oh please, oh please, oh please, oh please.
That would be interesting. We get essentially another horror-themed producer there. That would be something.
Well, considering the fact that we thought we were getting that with Moffat, and he decided to go with fairy tales instead.
Yeah, true. That's true.
I would like to see a return to the classic Doctor Who horror feel that we got during the 3rd and early 4th Doctor. You know, the things that brought us Talons of Wang Chiang. Which, again, I think that episode's on Netflix, guys. Watch it.
Also things that gave us Spearhead from Space and the Master for the first time.
Actually, no, that was a slightly earlier era. Spearhead from Space was early 3rd, and the guy I'm talking about didn't come in until late 3rd.
Well, by then also the Master was
Hinchcliffe
working
is who
with...
I'm thinking of, I think.
By that point,
Sounds
the
about right.
Master was also doing deals with demons and shit too, though.
Yeah, but no, there was a particular, not really a showrunner, but a head editor, producer, who had that kind of the dark horror feel to all of the episodes, whether they were hard sci-fi or not, and that was, I think, Hinchcliffe. If Flynn was here, he'd correct me.
Yeah,
Being a little
I
Or
think
it was
you're
either
right.
Hinchcliffe or Holmes, or both of them together.
maybe both.
Holmes did Spearhead, I think. If I'm getting that right.
Either way. Either way, rating, Randy?
Oh, I would have to say, with how it feels, even with its flaws, this gets a 4 out of 5.
Okay, Hinchcliffe took over as producer, starting with The Ark in Space.
Okay.
And that's when Robert Holmes apparently became script editor. So they were working in tandem.
They were together, Hinchcliffe and Holmes, okay.
Yep. So,
It was
Bill.
Holmes, though, that wrote Spearhead from Space, but he wasn't on the production team.
So, Bill, I believe it's your turn now.
Okay. I'm thinking I'm going to go for a 4 or 5.
4.5?
Yeah, I think so. It wasn't. It was definitely. There were definitely things that could be picked and pulled from the episode, but altogether, I think it was very, very effective, very successful. It was Neil Gaiman writing for Warwick Davis.
Oh, that brings it down to me. Warwick Davis, awesome. Cyberman, awesome. Not ruining the Cyberman, but actually making them better. Fucking brilliant! And never doing that accent again.
You can't pull that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cybermen better than where we left them, and while again not perfect, it's only nitpicks, and the majority of the episode is extremely strong and definitely a step in the right direction. If only the others would actually take note of the good parts. I'd have to actually agree with Bill. I was thinking of it before he said at least a 4.5. If I was to say anything, the nitpicks are the only thing that occasionally there are one or two nitpicks that constantly round my brain, but beyond those, I can easily forgive them for all the rest of the things done right.
So I would probably say 4.3 out of 5 between... Once you average what we got, there's a whole bunch of, sub numbers there, but that sounds to be a good approximation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So 4.3 out of 5.
And again, easily the highest number we've seen of
And
all
I think
the seventh season.
I think the most recent episode that we've as a group rated higher than that was the 11th hour.
Probably.
Which, was Stephen Moffat's early first, and that was the, pretty much, that was a great episode.
Yeah, that was a good
He has
Moffat
not
episode.
gone that high since.
Mhm.
But, yeah, in his place we've had, Neil Gaiman.
Game on. Game on. Game on. Yes. Neil is officially nailing it. And I don't know about the whole voting in a new head producer / writer thing, but if there was anyone that's
it's a
obvious
rumor.
to point at.
So the way you said Neil there, are you trying out to be the next Zod?
Kneel before Zod! I say to the man who's never seen a Superman movie yet, fail.
I'll probably be seeing this one because I've been seeing a lot of movies in theaters this year.
Yeah, I am pretty sure I'm going to go see that one.
I'm seeing more and more stuff that makes me cringe about the new Superman movie.
We'll still go see it.
At least I'll go into it with a blank slate as someone who doesn't really care about Superman and has never seen the
Actually,
movie.
I saw a trailer for that in front of Into Darkness today. It actually got my hopes up, Matt, so... They pretty much almost verbatim do the original opening from the 78 movie with Jor-El.
Apparently they made a what was it, like a National Guard or something ad that was supposed to make people feel like joining the National Guard would make them like Superman, but apparently made it more look like Superman was the villain that the Guard was trying to defeat.
Oh.
This is going off of Cracked.com's analysis anyway.
Yeah. I have heard horrifying things like Superman and Zod are not the only ones left.
Are we no longer on the podcast here?
Oh yeah, we're kind of running a tangent a little bit early, aren't we? So I guess
All right,
that's
guys.
We
Next-
4.3 out of 5. Tune in next week for the finale.
Next week, The Name of the Doctor. It's either going to be really good, really suck,
bad, and
or Randy and Matt will have a boxing match on air about it.
or I may just have an aneurysm. We don't know yet.
we might have to drag Randy's Kotos body in before his computer.
We might have bare knuckle boxing about this episode with Matt and myself as referees.
God help.
Tune in next week to find out.
If Flynn gets involved.
That's what I mean. I could just see this as the kind of episode that you and Flynn are at each other's throats over for 2 hours.
Yeah, only you said me and Matt, so.
No, I was saying me and Matt would be the referees.
That's what you said the second time.
Oh, did I mess up the first time?
Yes.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, if
mistake.
Flynn on next week's, it's probably going to be an argument. One of our epic ones, and yeah.
That
I
is
will say
if we
ahead
can
of
get
time,
Flynn on.
I've been leery on this whole Name of the Doctor thing since it first,
Actually,
showed up at the finale of last series.
may I add before we close that I was watching Juwario today, and he has this to say. Yes, if they do actually say the Doctor's name, biggest epic fucking fail ever. But if they are ever going to do anything to do with the Doctor's name right, it's either going to be just a whisper into someone's ear, or suddenly the sound will go out as soon as he starts trying to say his own name. Or someone else tries saying it for him. And if they fail to do that, then all bets are off. It's officially fail.
Yeah, because if they reveal it, no matter what it is, somebody's
gonna
going to be pissed.
Stupid. I guarantee it's going to be stupid as all get out. But anyways, that's for next time. See you all then.